Hello and welcome to this week's Lecture and News Bulletin. Have you ever noticed a lack of interest in your students? Perhaps you are putting too much information in your lecture slides and as a result it's harbouring your students' learning. Well, panic not. We have found a new way for you to start capturing their attention again. We have found a theory called the Coherence Effect, and here to tell us more is our expert, Lucy O'Hara. So Lucy, what actually is the Coherence Effect?
Well, coherence has been defined as the logical interconnection of elements with an overall sense of understandability. But more specifically, the coherence effect is a well-connected representation of main ideas to be learned.
Oh. So what evidence is there for this effect?
Well, the effect is based on research by Kaluga, Chandler and Sweller into managing split attention and redundancy in multimedia instruction. Results showed that when both auditory and visual information were presented, the learner was overloaded and the visual information became redundant, thus interfering with the learning. The information presented was not coherent.
Are there any specific types of coherence effect?
Yep. There is text coherence. This is essentially the extent to which relationships between ideas in a text are explicit. Coherent texts have fewer contextual gaps and therefore require few inferences. They are also easier to understand.
What about low coherent texts?
Well, low coherence texts force readers to rely on prior knowledge. However, if this is not available, then learning can prove difficult. Research has shown that low knowledge learners benefit from texts with higher coherence. So it is important that lecturers encourage students to generalise their learning and to integrate old and new information for better coherence.
Thank you for informing us about this effect, Lucy. We shall now go over to our roving reporter, Shiwan Long, who is with some students to find out what they think of this effect and how they think their learning aids are and their lectures.
Currently, many types of teaching aids are widely used in education to aid learning, with many students relying on these to learn about their subject. I've come here to Bangor University to track down some students to ask their opinions on the coherence of their lectures. So let's go and find some. Hi there, can I ask you some questions about your lectures?
Okay then.
Okay. Do you have to do any extra reading or anything for your subjects?
Yeah, we have to look at critics because we're literature students.
Okay, and how do you feel about these critics? Are they hard to understand, easy to understand?
They're easy to understand once you get to about the last paragraph. After about 8 pages of complete and utter nonsense,
Yeah.
I guess. But
Okay.
aside from that,
These lot of big, like, what's the word? Hard to understand language.
Okay.
It's yeah, it's hard to get to grips with what they're actually talking about.
Yeah.
We're quite frustrating.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that.
okay.
Have you got a minute to answer some questions?
No, sorry, I'm running a bit late.
Hi, have you got a minute to answer some questions?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you have any lectures?
Yeah, I've got a couple up in PJO.
And do they use any lecture slides or anything?
Yes.
And what's your opinion on those lecture slides?
They're alright, but it can be a bit full of just too much words on them. Get confusing and you lose track of where you are.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so from what we've heard, it's clear that the coherence effect is affecting students. So here are a few simple guidelines for when you're next creating your lecture slides. A bad slide contains irrelevant pictures that distract from the information, such as the kite in this maths equation, and wordy and unclear text where the meaning becomes lost. A good slide has clear and concise texts, pictures relevant to the information, and a simple layout. However, remember that information has to be motivating as well as coherent in order for students to learn. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Shiwan, and also to Lucy for letting us know about this vital effect. Please tune in again in the future for more lecture and news.